Hey, it's Declan Ryan from whoisdeclanryan.com, and I've got as far as chapter 5 of Maxwell Maltz's Psychocybernetics. Now, these are just the things that I've taken away from it. I might be missing a few things out of the chapter, but the points that really appeal to me I'm going to go through. I'm also trying to keep these videos to between 7 and 8 minutes so that they don't go on for too long. I've got a bit of a frog in my throat today, so if I do cough a bit, you'll have to excuse me. Now, the first thing that I got out of this one is the importance of getting over errors. Now, your server mechanism functions on receiving error messages and using those to push you forward towards your goal. Now, this applies to so many different areas of endeavour, whether sports or whether business or whatever. If you focus on your goal and focus only on your goal, then that will keep your server mechanism moving you towards that. What a lot of people do, and I've certainly been guilty of this in the past, is that on the way there you're making various different errors to get there, and you might just pick up on one error and you just think, and you beat yourself up about it, and you think, I could have done that better, or I shouldn't have said this, or I could have done that better. And you start to go over that in your mind, and what happens is then your mind focuses on that so much. You replay the incident over and over again in your mind, and you just think, I should have done better, I should have done better. So what happens is, by the law of what you focus on expands, that becomes your new goal. You don't want it to be your new goal, but that becomes the focus. So then you attract more of that goal. Instead of focusing on what you do want, you're focusing on what you don't want. I got tremendous value and guidance out of Maltz's recounting of Bertrand Russell and how he copes with this kind of situation. He says that you should concentrate firmly on what you believe to be your core beliefs, and don't let anything else interfere with those core beliefs. And that way, if something else happens along the way that's in conflict with your core beliefs, you can just dismiss it. It really doesn't matter. And he compares this with Prescott Lecky's discovery, mentioned earlier on in the book, that there are two ways of changing beliefs and thereby creating extra motivation. The first one is the belief that you're capable, that you can pull your weight and that you can do what you're set out to do. And the second one is, if negative things come into the way of that, the second one is the deep-seated belief that you shouldn't have to suffer any indignity. Now, he comes across this really great example of a guy that came to see him for counselling about a problem that he was having, putting a business idea across, and he felt intimidated in the presence of superior people, or what he viewed to be superior people. And Maltz just basically put him through the exercise of saying, well, okay, so you feel intimidated. Why is that? and would you go in there crawling on your knees like a beggar? Well, of course not. And so, of course, that brought out the indignity of the person, which prompted them to make the decision and push aside their beliefs of, well, I'm perfectly capable of holding my own and going in there. Similar happened to Walt Disney, which I didn't know. He presented his ideas for Disneyland to fellow amusement park owners, and they all just laughed at him and said it was a ridiculous idea. And so instead of Disney slinking off with his tail between his legs, he formed a determination that his plans were going to succeed. And so that was the catalyst, really, pushing him forward to make sure that he succeeded. I also love the story put forward of one of the people that used Psychocybernetics to change his career prospects, to change his position, and that was Jeff Paul, who's actually now on the board of the Psychocybernetics Foundation. And Jeff Paul, like many people, he decided that he really wanted to find another way to earn a living. He wanted to find another way to meet his financial commitments, and so he actually started with a thing which he calls backward goal planning, and goal setting, I beg your pardon, backward goal setting. So he decided what he wanted, and he also made up a list of the things that he didn't want along the way. I mean, for example, he hated his commute there, he hated having to deal with office politics. There was a whole list of things, including he didn't like wearing a suit every day, so he wrote a list. You yourself might have a whole different list, for example, not wanting to deal with staff, not wanting to deal with your boss, not wanting to deal with the commute, I think is pretty much high on most people's lists. And so he drew up that list, and then he went searching for a business which could actually provide those things for him while respecting the things I don't want to do list. And so he started out with a mail order business. Now, what was fascinating about his choice of this was he was using his skill in financial planning, and he knew that there was a need by other colleagues of his which he'd known in his sphere of work, and he knew there was a need for the kind of knowledge that he had. So he made his knowledge into a mail order course. And that took off like wildfire because he was addressing a need and he had the solution. So he did all this while still adhering to his things I never want to do list. And I've been fortunate enough to find a business which fits my things I never want to do again list, including some of the things listed on Jeff Paul's list. And if you're interested in that, you can find click a link in the blog there to find it. And so, understandably enough, many of us would like to be in that position, that have the business that Jeff Paul created and also the lifestyle that he has. But as Maltz goes on to say, and I've certainly experienced, people will say, yeah, I'd really love to have that lifestyle, I'd really love to have that job, but I couldn't do it because, and they'll give you a whole long list of reasons that they can't do it. Now, what Maltz has set as an exercise as part of this is 4 questions that you ask yourself. Now, I haven't memorized these questions, so I'm going to read them off. The first one is, you have your belief, starts off with, I can't do that. Question 1 is there any rational reason for such a belief? Question 2 is, could it be that I'm mistaken in this belief? Question 3 is, would I come to the same conclusion about some other person in a similar situation? And question 4 is, why should I continue to act and feel as if this were true if there's no good reason to believe it? And these are powerful, powerful questions you probably won't be able to answer off the cuff. And in fact, he says, go in depth, think about the answers to these questions, think deeply about what you hold as your belief. You might find that subconscious beliefs are really holding you back, beliefs that you didn't actually know you had, or beliefs that you were similarly unaware of. And so go into detail about asking yourself these beliefs. And so the last takeaway that I got from this was, with all the rational thought and all the rational thinking, in order for it to be effective, it has to be based on a genuine, real, burning desire. You'll see this in so many books. Napoleon Hill says you've got to have a burning desire. Zig Ziglar says you've got to have a burning desire. Les Brown says you've got to be hungry to have a desire to make this move. But the most powerful thing here is you've got to actually use that desire and think about it. Visualize what you want to achieve. Let that roll over in your head. Repeat it, dwell on it, think about it daily. Now, doing this consistently will push out the negative space which is normally occupied by, guess what? Worry. Now, we all know how to worry, don't we? Worry occupies the space of what would happen if, or whatever you're worrying about in the future. We'll go over those thoughts over and over again, and we dwell on them. You know what? That then becomes the goal. So if you're constantly churning over in your mind how you want it to appear, how you want the outcome to be, that will actually then start to take the place and will become your reality. And when you're thinking about these things, get passionate about it, get excited, get enthusiastic, communicate to your subconscious brain what you want the goal to be. Communicate it with enthusiasm and passion and excitement, and that way your subconscious will get the message. So doing this over and over again will reinforce the message because what you think about will affect your actions and will affect your outcome. And obviously the last point to mention on this is, if you don't do this consistently, and if you don't dwell, think about, ruminate on your desired goal, guess what will happen? Without any effort, your automatic success mechanism will become your automatic failure mechanism. Just as simply as it is a success, it will become a failure one. So, with that being said, I'm looking forward to chapter 6. I hope you got some value out of this video. It's actually been a little bit longer than the other ones, but never mind. If you liked it, if you're just having a look at this one for the first time, have a look at the other 4 rather, and subscribe to the channel, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.